My name's Tim Rooney. I'm the CEO of Salad Money. No stranger to open banking and these events, but we are lending affordably to NHS employees across the UK using open banking. Particularly keen to ensure the adoption of open banking and its correct use within the affordable lending marketplace. So we've been going since 2018 and it's been one hell of a journey for us. So very keen to be here and to contribute. So we're lending sub £1,000. This is not mainstream credit. This is not mortgages, car finance, large loans. This is for people who typically have either got a bad credit score and are excluded from mainstream access to mainstream credit, or the over indebted. And we see equal amounts of those individuals applying from the NHS. I mean, I have to say that if you don't use open banking, you will lay yourself open to claims of unaffordable lending. I find it slightly surprising, the FCA is not mandating the use of open banking, because in some respects, you can't just take and use open banking to validate someone's net income and then supplement that with a credit score. You've got to look at the whole affordability piece. So for us, using open banking only, we do not use credit scoring, has proved to be a real revelation in both terms of our risk and our collectability, but also giving people a chance. I mean, it's really unfair that a blot on someone's credit file 6 years ago is carried forward and used. It's a bit of a, it weighs people down. And within the NHS, we see a lot of people who are prone to financial life shocks. And I think it's deeply unfair that those individuals should be excluded from mainstream credit because of a missed payment once or twice, or a payment holiday on something. So for me, I want open banking to be used in its fullest capacity by all lenders, regardless of the size of the loan. I was slightly shocked on a call last week where one of the credit reference agencies said that they didn't think it was appropriate for smaller sub £5,000 loans to use open banking. They thought it was a sort of sledgehammer to crack a nut. I don't believe that's the case. Our users are willing and able to allow us to access open banking with consent to make our lending decisions, and they're very glad of it. So yeah, I see open banking as changing the area in affordable lending quite considerably. What's in it for you as a bank is to make sure that you're lending affordably to your consumer base. I've got to tell you that within what we see in open banking is the constant indebtedness of people in overdraft. And, we talked about persistency, and the FCA moved on persistency with credit cards and people, paying down the capital. But, we see people in a persistent overdraft year after year. Now, that information has come to light, and I'm deeply concerned that the banks don't seem to be bothering about persistent overdrafts. We're talking about people paying £3-4 a day to manage an overdraft over a prolonged period of time. So what's in it for you, Mr. Banker, is that you are fulfilling your obligation to civil society by ensuring that you are affordably dealing with your customers. And it's not what's in it for you, because ultimately I think this is a responsibility that you're going to have to adopt open banking across all levels of lending and credit and extension of overdrafts. So roll on the day when the FCA force all lenders to use open banking. And I have to say that credit scores, again, they're holding people back. Everyone's been sold this idea about being a good credit citizen, but it doesn't really work when you've got open banking that's available to you, and it's your data that you can share with whoever is able to consume that data. Dealing with people who are not in the habit of saving. They haven't got an ISA that they're going to top up just before the deadline. Yeah. This isn't about how open banking is going to discern them from someone else to get a speedy mortgage. This is about people who live on the edges of society. They are underserved quite substantially, in my view, or they're massively over indebted. And for me, I think I get that using a credit score is, or all the sources of data that are available to you, whether that be county court judgments or bankruptcies, IVAs, etc. That's great. I was actually at Experian at a point in time when having a payday loan and repaying it created a black mark on a person's consumer file. Yeah. This wasn't the fact that they hadn't repaid it. This was the fact that they had taken out a payday loan and repaid it in full, but that mark stayed with them for 6 years. And that mark was interpreted by all of the major lenders. So for me, I think it's slightly anachronistic that, those sorts of things for the people who are at the main, not in mainstream credit, exclude them from accessing credit, utilities, insurance products, mobile phone contracts. We hear lots of stories of people with poor credit scores not being able to pay by direct debit for their utility bills because guess what? They've got a poor credit score, and that's just not fair. So I'm sorry, credit scores need to change really considerably before I, for one, will use them. And in fact, we don't offer loans to everyone because they can't afford to make repayments, and it would be irresponsible of us. We don't report their search to a credit bureau because guess what? Searches are used in the makeup of an individual's credit score. So if you're credit hungry and you're desperately looking for some money to get through to the next month, that search will count negatively against you, which is why I, for one, will not submit data to credit bureaus. It is changing the face of affordable lending in the UK. We've taken a brave step in some respects. We've democratized our data. We've given that to the University of Edinburgh. We are going to produce a report on what we see within the data and what the data has done in terms of our credit, risk decisioning, lending, but also reporting on all of the credit malpractice, which we believe is there. And I think I've touched on some of it today. So we want our open banking data elements to be used for greater research within the UK to assist people at the affordable lending level.